Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have a wonderful guest today, a dear friend of mine whose training has really supported and helped me. She has trained legends like Robert Kiyosaki, Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, and the one and only Mark Stephen Pooler. Before I bring Marcia into the broadcast, I just need to make an official shout out to our show sponsors, Craig Shelley, Beverly Hills Luxury Watches and Fine Jewelry at craigshelley.com. We are streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're also live on mspnewsglobal.com, and we're also streaming live through the E360 TV network under Fresh Takes, going out to Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, Roku, and many more. So let's bring our guest into the broadcast, the incredible Marcia Martin. Marcia, welcome to the Brilliance Business TV show.
Thank you so much. And it's true, the one and only Mark Stephen Pooler. I'm so delighted to be here with you.
Marcia, you are an incredible human being. I'm so glad that Bridget Tritt introduced us, because we have formed a great relationship, and then I discovered your training, and it really is phenomenal. We will talk about it in more detail shortly. I would like to go back a little bit into your past and background. What led you to do what you do today?
Well, I have had a unique life and been in extraordinary kind of circumstantial places that just happened to be the right place at the right time. And when I was a young girl, I had been trained by my aunt, who was a healer, and she told me that we really needed to raise the consciousness of the planet and that we needed to teach people how to love. And then when I was in my early 20s, I happened to be in a seminar, the very first seminar that Werner Erhard, who created and founded EST, which became the Landmark Forum, ever led. There were only 20 of us. And as a result of being in that seminar, I started working with him. I was one of the first 5 people that worked with him as founding members to create EST, which later became Landmark Forum. And I was the senior vice president. And over 10 years, we went from those 20 graduates to millions of graduates worldwide. And during that time, I saw the real effect of what it means to actually support a human being, teach them how to be more responsible and effective, teach them how we're all one and that they can collaborate together. And it just touched my heart, and it's been my work ever since.
I know you have lots of experience of taking a small company and really scaling it up, Marcia, but you just said it yourself. What I love most about what you do is it's coming from the heart space, and it's coming from oneness, which I'm going to say it in today's modern world, it sometimes not like that, Marcia. People are about just the quick win, the quick sale, using all sorts of manipulative techniques. I just don't like that side of business and entrepreneurship. So when I found you and learned your skills, you don't need any of these tricks. It's coming from service and a great place. So I really love what you do. Could you just share in your own words a little bit about your business now and what you do in business, Marcia?
Absolutely. I'm CEO of an executive training firm, and I go into corporations and work with the senior executives to teach them all sorts of mastery skills, communication mastery, leadership mastery, how to achieve championship performance. And then on my individual work business side, I have a coaching business, and I teach and coach individuals to be more effective human beings. So my work travels many, many different directions, both in the personal development world and in the corporate executive world.
Championship performance, and that's taken me right back to one of your seminars, Marcia. And actually, I told you before we come on this call about I'm working with a personal trainer. I've lost 11 pounds. And actually, going back to your training, it really made me think. I had been trying to lose weight for a long time, having all sorts of success in business and thinking, why am I not getting the results with my health and my weight loss journey? And in your training, I remember it said something like, look at the results. If you're not getting the results, you're not giving the effort, kind of. You'll say it much more beautiful than me, but it's basically if you look at the result and you're not getting it, you're not committed to that goal because you're not getting the result, and it's all about the results. Say it in your words, Marcia, because you will share it a lot more better.
Thank you so much. I think you share very articulately and beautifully. So a lot of my work, all of my work, in fact, follows universal laws. And there are laws in the universe, just like gravity. And when you click into them and you understand them, I think most of us as human beings know more about our car and what it needs than we do about our human body, our human mind, our human emotions, or the world that we live in and how it works. And one of the laws of the universe is it has to exist as a commitment first. Most people look at commitments in terms of, well, what are the circumstances first? I need to look at circumstances to determine what I'm committed to. So if I ask someone, are you committed to increase your sales by 20% in the organization? Or are you committed to losing 11 pounds in a certain amount of time? People will usually say, well, let me think about it. First, I have to find out if I have the right trainer. First, I have to find out if I have the right budget. First, I have to find out if I have the right team. And so what they're doing is they're looking at the circumstances outside of themselves to see if they are willing and can then commit themselves. And the law of commitment, the nature of commitment, doesn't work that way. You must take the commitment first. You must be a stand. You must already have achieved it in the invisible world of your dreams. You must know it's so first, and then you take action. And what happens is when you do it in that order, and I teach people how to go to the invisible world, how to meditate, how to create an intention, how to create a commitment that works, whether it's a business or professional commitment or whether it's a personal commitment. When you do it in that order, what happens, instead of being at the effect of circumstances, which makes you a real victim, what happens is you take the stand first and you cause the circumstances necessary. And that's why I say either you have the results you want in life, or you always will have the reasons that you don't have those results. And I've been taught from my early mentors that it's better to have the results than the reasons. And if you're not getting the results you want, then look at how you think, not what you think, not your thoughts that are kind of in all of our minds and that little voice in the back of our head, But what is the quality of our thinking? What are the assumptions we have? Where does our commitment come from? And that's where you change something to get a new result. You don't try to change the result, make it better, make it different, make it more, make it less. What you do is you forget about the result, just have to know, is it the result you want? And if it's not, then begin to look at the quality of your assumptions. What is it are your belief systems? What is it is the quality of your thinking? That's where commitment lives. And when you correct at that source of all results, then you have a different result.
You said that beautifully, Marcia, and that was what made me realize I wasn't getting the result that I wanted. And until you accept that and then look at new ways of thinking, in my case, I hired a personal trainer and took it more seriously. Now I'm getting the results, and I haven't done exercising the whole of my life. I went to the gym once, and now I'm training 4 times a week, eating healthily, enjoying it, lost 9 pounds, and now I'm getting the results, and I am committed. Now, you mentioned another great point here, assumptions, and I know you talk about assertions as well. This is a hard one at first, Marcia, especially assumptions of other people. And sometimes we do it unconsciously. We can just assume bad things that aren't even happening. And it's not really what is truth, but all human beings do this, and sometimes mostly for the negative. Take us down this path a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, just to be clear, assumptions are like your beliefs. They're the paradigm in which you live. And then there are 2 domains that you have in the visible world, one domain that exists in the invisible world. So those domains are the domains. As a human being, you live in 3 worlds: the world or the domain of being, the world of domain of doing, and the world or domain of having. In the visible world, where action takes place, where you live, not where you dream, but where action happens and things exist, there are 2 domains. There's action and there's interpretation of action. Assumptions, how you think, live in your dream world or the invisible world of be. But your assessments and your assertions live in the world of action and language. And always think of it that there is something that happens, and then we all, as human beings, have this natural, absolutely expertise where we decide what that means. So we interpret all actions. And a lot of what we do is we assume our interpretations are correct. So if you walk into a room, for example, and you're frowning, everybody in that room is going to decide what that means. Oh, he's unhappy. Oh, he's mad. Oh, he doesn't like this particular meeting. Oh, he is in a bad mood. Those are all interpretations of the action of you having a frown on your face. Now, do we know if those interpretations are accurate or not? No, we don't. But what happens with human beings is they collapse those 2 domains of doing and having, the world of action and your interpretation of action, together. And then they start saying what you're doing is the interpretation that they've made. Oh, you are mad. Not that you walked in, you had a frown on your face, and my interpretation of that is that you might be mad. That's a totally different thing than telling someone he was mad, he was upset, he was being whatever. So we want to separate those 2 domains and realize there's action in the world, and then we add meaning to that action and we create our own interpretation. And when we start viewing the world like that, and we start realizing we have our interpretation of whatever they're doing and what it means, Then we start having a communication with someone where we can ask them, is this what you meant by what you did? Did your action mean that you feel this way? Or can you tell me what your action just meant to you so that I know what I can do about it, rather than collapsing them together? So that's an assessment. Somebody's making an assessment of you when they watch you in action. And the other things we do with assessments when we get them, because people give us feedback, whether we want it or not, is we always take usually that feedback personally. And we don't need to do that. If we want to be effective, we need to learn not to do that. We need to learn that somebody giving us an assessment is just their interpretation of some action that we did. It's not our real self. It's how we're showing up for them, which means it's the identity we have for them. And that's how people collaborate with each other. We collaborate with identities. We don't collaborate with real people. We don't even know who you are really. We just have our assessments, and your identity lives in my assessment of you. So if we can start to consider, it would be more effective when I hear someone say something to me about me, not to take it personally, but to say, oh, I see, that's something they have as their opinion, looking from their particular perspective with their particular interpretation. Now, we can go into a communication knowing that that's more effective. I hope that all makes sense, because it's a lot of stuff to get into a few moments.
It makes perfect sense, Marcia, and we do it. And it's only when you become aware and conscious of these skills that you realize you are thinking in your mind all sorts of things that are not actually the truth. Like you mentioned, just a frown on the face. You don't know what that frown is for, but you put all sorts of meaning to it and you really believe it. And it's really, really helpful. And it helps you to take it less personally when you see things as they are, rather than seeing them just the way you think they are. And I found that a really, really valuable skill. We're coming up to a commercial break, Marcia, so stay where you are. Join us after the commercial break. We are joined with the incredible Marcia Martin. She has already shared some great skills with us, so stay tuned and join us after the commercial break. Welcome back to Brilliance Business TV. We are joined by the incredible Marcia Martin. Before the break, she has shared her journey, what led her to do what she does today in the world of communication, relationships, public speaking, sales. And she has already shared great value with us. So I want to welcome you back, Marcia, and I want to jump straight back into the next part. A lot of what you do is communication based. Over the last year and a couple of months, we have been in a global pandemic. We have been locked in our houses, locked in our home living spaces. And it's definitely a new world that we're moving into now. lots of businesses have struggled and lots of businesses have gone out of business. We have lots of new people in the entrepreneurship space. Communication is such an important skill. And we was chatting before the show. A lot of people don't use communication to the best of its advantage, Marcia. You will know that. That's what keeps you so busy, trotting all over the world, training this to people. But it does shock me sometimes that some people just don't have great communication skills. And you teach about giving space. Now, I get on calls all of the time. People love to talk, especially about themselves, but not many people like to listen. And I have turned that around, especially from your training. I love to listen now and listen from the heart and appreciate what people are saying to me. And just share this skill with us, Marcia, because it is really, really valuable, giving space.
Absolutely. And remember, I was saying that there are laws in the universe, and there are laws that we all know those laws, and we operate inside of them, like gravity. Nobody usually goes out the 10th floor window and says, screw gravity today. We all organize our lives around gravity, and we know gravity will always win. So we follow the law. But there are other laws, like the laws of communication, that aren't so evident. They're not so in our face as gravity is. And two of those laws for communication are, number one, you have to be present. If communication really takes place, there has to be presence. The sender and the receiver both have to be present. They have to be here. And most people are not present. They're somewhere else. They're thinking about the past. They're worried about the future. They're thinking about their to-do list. They're thinking about what they're going to say in response to whatever you're saying. So they're in their head. They have to be present for real communication, which is an interaction. It's a connection. It's a duplication of somebody's experience. So you have to be there to have it happen. And the second law is this thing that you're talking about, space. There's things and space. There's space in this world, and then there's things in the space. Those are the two elements that we work with, space and things in space. And so communication is a thing. It has to have space in which to exist. And people have outer space, the space between me and you, the space around me, and we have inner space. And a lot of times our inner space is filled up because there aren't enough really quality, expert, dynamic listeners to receive us. It gets packed up and kind of held back, and it just is all inside. And so there's no space internally for a lot of people. If I come along and I want to say something to you or communicate with you, and I speak and don't notice that you don't have any space in which my communication can even fit, then I'm not following the law. So the law says there has to be space. I have to learn the particular skill set of how one creates space. And how you create space for someone else is you do a thing that's called authentic or genuine or generous listening. And the best way that I can describe generous listening is if you pretend the person you're listening to is brilliant and that whatever they're saying is possible, it will change how you listen. Because mostly how people listen is with judgment. We bring an already, always listening with us to the table. And our already, always listening is something that we carry around like baggage, like you take a piece of luggage and go to the airport and you carry it with you. Well, you carry this already, always listening with you to the conversation. And it's formed or shaped, and it's like a filter that surrounds us, like we're in a bubble of it. And it's formed from many things. It's formed from our past experiences, our assessments, our old ideas, our history, lots of things create that. But when we're aware and we're present, it doesn't have power over us. And what we can do to get ourselves aware and present is to pretend, it's like kind of a trick you play on the mind, that the person you're listening to is really brilliant, and that whatever they're saying is possible. That we call generous listening. It puts us in a state of listening generously and openly and giving that person some space to express themselves. It puts us in a state where we're allowing them to be and do whatever they are, to say whatever particular position they are, and to have that be okay and possible. That's different than agreeing or disagreeing. And most people don't allow communication or the person to express themselves whatever way they are expressing. What they do instead is they listen and say to themselves, oh, I agree with that. Oh, I don't agree with that. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's wrong. And that kind of agreeing or disagreeing listening pushes back the thing that they are sharing so that that's now back with them and they don't have space again. But if I allow them to share and I really receive it in a generous way, and I don't push it back, but I receive it and just get it, they are able to empty out. And when they empty out and are received, they have space. Now I have the possibility of putting something in and having it really connect. So it's a 3-step process, really. What I call it is centering, generous listening, and then speaking. And centering is where you get yourself open, present, and connected. You're open. You're not closed down. You're present. You're really here. And you're connected. You realize that you're part of a moving universe and that there's something between you and the person. It's not just that you're isolated. So that's called centering. So you get yourself centered. Then you listen. You listen to the person. And it doesn't take much to listen, because I tell you, if there's 5 seconds or 2 seconds or even 1 second of silence, somebody will start talking. And so you be present, listening with a generous listening, as if they're totally brilliant and what they're saying is possible. And you receive what they say and you let them know that you got it. And that allows them to empty out. And then the 3rd step is speaking.
I remember the very first thing you do teach is presence, because if you haven't got presence, nothing else will work. So we covered presence first. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, this is really, really important in sales, Marcia. I know when you listen and let them empty, that gives you a chance then to put an idea into their space once they are empty. And it's so, so important for entrepreneurs. We all need good sales skills, Marcia, and I don't like manipulative sales tricks. I like it to be authentic. Now, when you use your skills that you teach, it's selling authentically. There's no need for gimmicks. There's no need for tricks. It's simply using presence, giving people space, but then seeing if what you have to offer is something that would benefit them. If it's not as well what I like, you wouldn't then try and get them to say yes, because you know it's not the right time. Where many salespeople, even if it's not the right thing, they will still keep on trying and trying. Tell us a little bit about selling. What does selling mean to you, Marcia?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Mark. Thank you for asking it. Well, first of all, I view sales, I kind of look at it as what I call old age sales, or what I call as authentic and selling from the heart. And what most salespeople, that whatever our image of the salesman that we all hate, and we say it's pressure and it's manipulation, what they do is they tell us what we want, what we need, and what we can afford. And that's, you know, those kinds of decisions are self-determined decisions. if I go to a person, I say, oh, you should have this, you need this, you can afford this, it's only this amount, and this is really something for you. I'm putting something into their space. But if I ask them through stories and experiences and questions, well, do you feel this would be valuable for you? Then what that does is it lets them look themselves at their own experience to decide if it would or it wouldn't. And for some people, it would, and for some people, it wouldn't. And I think that that's a fair thing, and allow people to have their own choices. But if I find out because they share, oh, yeah, I really like that. Oh, that sounds like something that would work for me. Oh, yes, that would be valuable. Oh, I could really use that. If they've looked because I've asked them a question to consider it, and they've considered it, and they found it would be, then I feel it's my responsibility as the person offering them something to tell them what to do in order to get what they just told me they wanted. Now, it's an exact opposite relationship that old age sales has. An old age salesperson will tell you what you want and then sit back and make you tell them if you're going to do it. And that decision isn't really important, whether you actually do it or not, buy it or not. It's more important and more self-determined, the decision, is this valuable for you? Is this something you can afford? Is this good for your budget? Those are the kinds of questions you need to decide for yourself. But whether you're going to do it, even though it's not the most important decision, is the scariest, because we all have this feeling inside of us, am I doing the right thing? And we look outside of ourselves to find out if it's right or not. Well, did so-and-so do it? Do you think I should do it? I mean, it's scary. We don't want to make mistakes. So what I say is, I, as the salesperson, need to make that decision. I'm not deciding for them if they want it. They've already decided that. But what I now do is I tell them how to get it. So instead of asking them, are you going to get this, which puts them into this really uncomfortable position, and then I have to apply pressure if they make the wrong decision and tell them again, they want it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Now, are you going to get it? No, I just make a statement and give them instructions. Okay, great. Fill out the card. Take out your paycheck. Take out your credit card. Take out your whatever and give them instructions on how to do what they just said that they wanted to do. The other thing about genuine, heart-filled selling is I tell people what I got. I share my experience. I share my client's experience. I don't tell anybody what they're going to get from it. And that way a person can look and have the freedom to say, is this something I want to try out? Sounds good. And that's motivated by inspiration instead of manipulation. So that's the difference in kind of my take on selling.
And it's really, really helped me. And enrolling as well is what we use. I never used to be good at sales, Marcia. I am really, really a good salesperson now, and I enjoy selling, and your techniques really do help. And like you mentioned, you show people the next step of how they can get it. But at times, I know this can be uncomfortable as the salesperson. That is taking me back to a story you have shared where you were holding the pen.
Yes.
You may want to share a little bit of this story.
I was really at the point where this person had told me they want to do this particular program that they had been offered. They wanted to be in the training. They saw it was valuable. They really wanted it. And so I said, that's fantastic. And I took a card that they needed to fill out to enroll, and I handed it to them, and they took the card. And then I took a pen and I held it out for them to take the pen so they could fill out the card. And I remember standing there, and I was kind of looking at the pen rather than staring them down. And they didn't take the pen. And it took, I don't know, a good 2 minutes for this person to actually look at the card And I know probably what was going on with them was they were considering, do I want to do this? Yes, I want to do this. Okay, is it going to be valuable? Yes, I think it's going to be valuable. They were going through their own internal process and probably didn't even notice that I'm standing with my arm and the pen stuck out in space. And I remember I just said to myself, don't move, because it was so scary. Because at any minute, all of these things come up in our minds. I go, he's going to yell at me. He's going to tell me I'm stupid. He's going to notice, why are you holding this pen? And instead, I just was very still in the space of him looking to see what he wanted to do. And then a few seconds later, after this long 2-minute period of me just kind of being a statue, he took the pen and he filled out the card and he told me how excited he was to be part of the program.
And you do have to have some confidence, even if you don't feel confidence, because if you would have broke that and taken the pen away, that could have made the sale not happen, because you have taken back and you don't look as confident. So these skills, Marcia, are so important and really, really valuable. I use your techniques all of the time because they're natural and they're coming from the heart. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we've been through a global pandemic. The world is slightly starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, Marcia. And one of the things I always like to say, a world of collaboration, cooperation, everybody thrives. You do a lot of work with relationships. I feel now, as human beings, it's a great time for us to be more in our heart space, be more about helping and supporting others in collaboration. Can you share how you see relationships helping us to heal moving forwards into the new world?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, there's many ways you can look at what's happening. And you could look at this whole pandemic, that it was a horrible thing, which of course it is in terms of the amount of people that have died. But you could also look at it that it is a gift in some way. And one of the ways I feel it's a gift is it's given each of us time to contemplate, to be isolated, to be on our own, to go inward instead of always being so busy and doing so many things that we don't even know what's real for us in terms of our values anymore. And in terms of space and creating space, in order to be effective communicators, we have to have the ability not only to create space for someone else, but to create space for ourselves. Because when we're generously listening, that person giving us their experience, we have to have space in which it can be filling up. So it's not only we have to create space for others, we have to create space for ourselves. And meditating and contemplating and being still and being on our own and being within ourselves is a way to create personal space. So there is that communication, not just with other people, but with ourselves. And I think that this particular time has given us all a chance to go inside, to look to see what's really valuable for ourselves. And now we have the opportunity to make this even a better world, because we have our genuine, heartfelt, in touch with our own personal power and our own true values, to be able to come out and then connect with others. And when we connect, coming from that place of our values and what's important and what's genuine and what's authentic, then we will be able to collaborate to create those kinds of things in the world. So a lot of what's happened is really, maybe if we can all see it this way, a road towards having a better world.
I agree totally. Now, we need to touch on this because all of the skills that you teach do go hand in hand together. Public speaking, Marcia, it's one of the biggest fears. It really is. And I know I really had to shake on stage and my voice would be shaking. I was really, really scared, and it took me a long time to get comfortable public speaking. It's so important, isn't it, to become good at presenting and being a good speaker, especially in the world of business and entrepreneurship.
Public speaking is probably the greatest skill set that we all need. And like many people say, people are afraid of death and public speaking. So it's, you know, something that how we learn, just so you know, is through the body and through the mind. And how the body learns is the body, you have to actually do something. You have to practice it in order to become good at it. So you can understand how to do it, but then you have to practice. Just like when you rode a bicycle, your dad or your mom could tell you how to ride a bicycle, but it didn't really work until you got on the bicycle and started riding the bicycle. So you practiced enough to where you got it. And public speaking is like that. There are lots of books about how to be a great public speaker, but the thing that you must do in order to be a great public speaker is actually speak in public. And people, you know, they don't want to do that. They want to be great in one instance. So there is a trick that I teach people that makes it a little bit easier so you can have the willingness and courage to get up in front of any group. You know, say a toast at a wedding, talk at your family dinners, volunteer at any kind of lecture that you're at to ask a question. There are all sorts of ways that you can stand up and be in public speaking. Do it as much as possible. And this is the trick. It's the fact that language exists in two ways. There's language that means the thing it is, and there's representational language. So we have words and then a thing that matches the word. If I say pencil, I can find a pencil or a pen that is the thing itself. There are other words that represent something that doesn't actually exist. And a word like that is group. There is no real entity group. It's a word that represents many individuals in the room at the same time. So person is a word where you can find a thing to go along with it. Woman, man, person, human being. Those are all words that have a thing to go with them. I can find a woman, I can find a man, I can find a human being, but I can't find a group, a real entity group. It's a word that represents there are many people in the room at the same time. So if you understand what I just said, you'll realize you can't speak to a group because it doesn't exist. You have to speak to a person. So when you're in public speaking, where there are many people, what you do is you have a consecutive series of one-on-one conversations. Rather than trying to see the group all at once, what you do is you lock into and make eye contact and connection with and have a conversation of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 seconds with one person at a time. And then you move very easily around the room, find another person in another section of the room. And you go from one side to the other, from the front to the back, but you connect with a person and you have a conversation with that person. Even though there are hundreds of people in the room, or 10 or 20 or 50, you talk to one person at a time. That will settle you down, and then you can start practicing public speaking by actually doing it and get much better.
It does really, really help, Marcia, because when you have it in your head, you're going out to speak to a group. That is what really does scare you. Whereas when you know you're just going out and having a conversation here, spending a little bit of time with that person, then going to that person, not only does it make you a better speaker, people connect with you because you're connecting with them as well, but you really do feel more at ease, and it does really, really help. Marcia, I have really, really enjoyed having a conversation with you today. The last thing I would like to share with everyone, I am part of Marcia Martin Club. Now, this course or platform is like Netflix. I know Marcia Martin of Netflix.
Yes.
It's so much value for the investment that you pay. I'm a member, and it's such great value, Marcia. People should be paying thousands for this. Just tell everyone about it a little bit.
Absolutely. The Marcia Martin Membership Club. You can go to marciamartinclub.com. And it's an online digital library of workshops and seminars and public speaking events that I've done and podcasts where you can actually watch online in the comfort of your own home at your own leisure. And we have uploaded all of these different workshops so you can take it a little at a time, or you can binge and have a whole workshop. And it's $10 a month. And what we have discovered is it's changing people's lives. There's all sorts of subjects. I have workshops there on communication, on public speaking, on building a business, on making a championship team, on how leadership works, on the qualities and the concepts of championship performance, on relationships, on men and women. There's so much. And we've had fun. I realized I'd been carrying around all of my videos that have been taping my seminars for many, many years, because one day I was going to transcribe this and put it into a book. And I got so tired of carrying around the boxes that about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided, you know what? I think I'll just edit them and pull out the parts that are really valuable that can instruct other people and put it up like an HBO on demand or a Marcia Martin Netflix. And that's what it's like. You can click on and choose which workshop you want to watch or which speaking engagement, and then learn from the confines of your own home and have fun. And people are saying that it's fantastic. So marciamartinclub.com, $10 a month. And if you register for a year, it's only $100. So then that makes it only $8 a month. I hope everybody joins. It's really been valuable.
I can't recommend that everyone out there watching today goes and joins Marcia Martin Club, marciamartinclub.com. I myself have done many of the seminars. I've seen Marcia in Toronto, in many other different places. And the people that come and see you live, Marcia, they'll be paying good money to get this training. You can literally pay $10 a month and get thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, dollars worth of training for $10 a month. It's a no-brainer, and the value is incredible. marciamartinclub.com. Marcia, thank you so much for coming on to the Brilliance Business TV show. I've really enjoyed having you as a guest today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, and I am so grateful to have you in my life and for all the contribution that you give to so many people around the planet. Thank you, Mark.
It's been my pleasure. So I have one more question for you, Marcia. I say this one quite regularly. Can you leave a word of wisdom for any entrepreneurs or businesses that have struggled over the last 12 months? Just a word of wisdom to help them to see the light at the end of the tunnel and move more positively towards a new future.
I would say first get in touch with your dream and make sure that you have it clear inside of yourself as an experience, and then come from that dream one person at a time. If your dream is to have a large business and you want to sell jewelry, if your dream is to build a house and you want to live on the ocean, whatever the dream is, get in touch with the dream first, and then come from that dream and share it, how you feel about it, what you see, one person at a time. The universe will take care of the rest.
Marcia, thank you for being my guest today. It's my absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.